Hello, welcome all friends, family, newcomers, those who have graciously returned for the second installment of No Exit Theater Collective's fortnightly play reading series. At the No Exit Theater Collective, we are a group of actors from across the country, professional actors who have worked in New York, who have worked regionally, who have toured across the country. Unfortunately, we were all impacted by the COVID-19 disaster and are out of work. So what do we do when we're out of work? We are looking to create, we are looking to tell stories and bring them to your home. So every 2 weeks, we are committed to bringing a new play to you, either one of the classics or a new work. You can find us on Facebook at No Exit Theater Collective, Twitter, No Exit TC, Instagram, No Exit TC. And tonight we have something very special for you. Henrik Ibsen's Hedda Gabler. We have a wonderful, wonderful cast of actors. And before I introduce them, and I have been so lucky to direct them, I want to share with you that we have rolled out a new initiative, which is the No Exit Tip Jar. So every week that we are rehearsing a show, we have a Venmo, which is at NoExit-TC, that you can give any amount of money to. It could be $1, it could be $5, it could be $10, whatever you are able to give and comfortable with giving, we are happy to accept it, and we are very gracious for it. And all of the money raised over the course of that week is split equally among all the creators on a given project. So if you're able to do that over the course of the show, we've already had so many people giving money, and we're so thankful for them. That would be so great. So without any further ado, I'm going to get off your screen. You stop hearing me talk, and I'm going to introduce these wonderful actors who are part of this project.
Hello, I'm Keith Hale. I'm playing Jorgen Tesman.
Hi, my name is Anja Avsharian, and I'm playing Hedda Gabler.
Hi, I'm Emily Johnson-Erday. I'm playing Thea Elvsted.
Hi, I'm Ellie Gossage. I'm playing Judge Brack.
Sorry.
Alrighty, hang on.
Hey, I'm Lorian Gish, and I'm going to be a swing in case we experience any more technical difficulties.
And after the show, please stick around because we will be having a Q&A where you can message or comment on Facebook with your questions for any of the actors or me, the director, and we will be answering for about 10 or 15 minutes afterwards. So please stick around. Thank you so much and enjoy the show.
Act 1. It is 1890 in a villa in Christiania, now known as Oslo.
Jorgen Tesman and
The daughter of aristocratic General Gabler, Hedda Gabler.
Tesman, after returning from their 6-month honeymoon, have just bid farewell to Tesman's Aunt Julia, who was deeply excited about the sudden glow in Hedda's cheeks. She then left in a hurry after Hedda insulted her hat.
Hedda walks about the room, raising her arms and clenching her hands as if in desperation. Then she flings back the curtains from the glass door and stands there, looking out.
Tesman comes in and closes the door after him. What are you looking at, Hedda?
I am only looking at the leaves. They're so yellow, so withered.
Yes, well, you see, we are well into September now.
Yes, to think of it. Already in September.
Don't you think Aunt Julia's manner was strange, dear? Almost solemn?
Do you think she was annoyed about the hat? In any case, I shall manage to make my peace with her.
Yes, my dear good Hedda, if only you would.
I just can't see why.
Well, is there anything the matter with you, Hedda, eh?
I'm only looking at my old piano. It doesn't go well with all the other things.
The first time I draw my salary, we will see about exchanging it.
Oh, no exchanging. I don't want to part with it. Suppose we put in the inner room and then get another here in its place. When it's convenient. I mean,
Yes, well, of course we could do that.
These flowers were not here last night when we arrived.
Aunt Julia must have brought them for you.
A visiting card. Shall return later in the day. The name is Mrs. Elvsted?
Is it really? Sheriff Elvsted's wife, Miss Rising, that was.
Exactly. An old flame of yours, I've been told.
Oh, that didn't last long. And it was before I met you, Hedda. Fancy her being in town.
But it's odd. She should call upon us. I've scarcely seen her since we left school.
I haven't seen her either for heaven knows how long. I wonder how she can endure to live there.
Tell me, Tesman, isn't that where she, Eilert Lovborg is living?
Yes, she is in that part of the country, somewhere.
Mrs. Elvsted enters.
How do you do, my dear Mrs. Elvsted? It's delightful to see you again.
Yes, it's a very long time since we met.
Thank you for the lovely flowers.
Oh, not at all. I would have come straight here yesterday afternoon, but I heard that you were away.
Have you just come to town?
I arrived yesterday about midday. I was quite in despair when I heard you were not at home.
In despair? How so?
Why, my dear Mrs. Rising. Oh, I mean, Mrs. Elvsted.
I hope you're not in any trouble.
Yes, I am. And I don't know another living creature here I can turn to.
What is it, Mrs. Elvsted?
Has anything happened to you at home?
Yes and no. I am so anxious.
Then your best plan is to tell us the whole story, Mrs. Elvsted.
Well then, I must tell you, if you don't already know, that Eilert Lovborg is in town too.
Lovborg?
What? Has Eilert Lovborg come back? Oh, fancy that, Hedda.
She's been in town a week already, in this terrible town alone, with so many temptations on all sides.
But my dear Mrs. Elvsted, how does she concern you so much?
She was the children's tutor.
Your children's?
My husband's, I have none.
Your stepchildren's, then?
Yes.
Then was she, I don't know how to express it. Was she regular enough in her habits to be fit to the post, eh?
For the last 2 years, her conduct has been irreproachable.
Has indeed. Oh, fancy that, Hedda.
Did I hear it?
Perfectly irreproachable, I assure you, in every respect. But now that she is here in this great town, and with a large sum of money in her hands, I can't help being in mortal fear for her.
Well, why did she not remain where she was, with you and your husband?
After her book was published, she was too restless and unsettled to remain with us.
Oh, yes, Aunt Julia told me she had published a new book.
Yes, a big book dealing with the march of civilization in broad outline, as it were. And since it's sold so well and has made such a sensation, you see...
Has it indeed? It must be something she's had lying by since her better days.
No, she's written it all since she's been with us, within the last year.
Isn't that good news, Hedda? Think of that.
Yes, if only it would last.
Have you seen her here in town?
No, not yet. I've had the greatest difficulty in finding out her address, but this morning I discovered it at last.
Do you know, it seems a little odd to me that your husband, that he should send you to town on such an errand.
Oh, no. And besides, I had some shopping to do.
Oh.
So,
That's
and now I beg and implore you, Mr. Tesman, receive Eilert Lovborg kindly. If she comes to you, you see you two were such good friends.
Oh, we used to be.
And that is why I beg you so earnestly to... Will you keep a sharp eye on her? Will you promise me that, Mr. Tesman? Won't you?
With the greatest of pleasure, Mrs. Rising. I assure you that I shall do all I possibly can for Eilert. You may rely on me.
How very, very kind of you. Thanks. Thanks. You see, my husband is so very fond of her.
You ought to write to her, Tesman. She may not care to come of her own accord.
Well, perhaps it would be the right thing to do, Hedda?
And the sooner the better. Why not at once?
Oh, if only you would.
I'll write this moment. Have you her address, Mrs. Elvsted?
Yes. Right, here it is.
Good. Then I'll go in and I'll...
But please don't say a word to show that I've suggested it.
Oh, no. How could you think that I would?
There, we have killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
How do you mean?
Could you not see that I wanted him to go so that I might speak to you alone?
But there's nothing more. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, yes, but there's a great deal more. I can see that.
But, my dear Mrs. Tesman, I was really on the point of going.
Oh, you can't be in such a hurry. Well, now, tell me something about your life at home.
Oh, that is just what I care least to speak about.
But to me, dear? Why, weren't we schoolfellows?
Yes, but you were in the class above me. Oh, how dreadfully afraid of you I was then.
Afraid of me?
Yes, dreadfully. For when we met on the stairs, you used always to pull my hair.
Did I really?
Yes, and once you said you would burn it off my head.
Oh, that's all nonsense, of course.
Yes, but I was so silly in those days. And since then, too, we've drifted so far, far apart from each other. Our circles have been so entirely different.
Well, then we must try to drift together again. Now, listen. At school, we called each other by our Christian names.
No, I'm sure you must be mistaken.
So now we are going to renew our old friendship. You must call me Hedda.
How good and kind you are. I am not used to such kindness.
There. And I shall, as in the old days, call you my dear Thora.
My name is Thea.
Why, of course. I meant Thea. So you are not accustomed to goodness and kindness, Thea, not in your own home?
Oh, if only I had a home, but I haven't any. I have never had a home.
I almost suspected as much. I don't quite remember. Was it not as a housekeeper that you first went to Mr. Elvsted?
I really went as a governess, but his wife, his late wife, was an invalid and rarely left her room, so I had to look after the housekeeping as well.
And then, at last, you became mistress of the house.
Yes, I did.
Let me see. About how long ago was that?
My marriage?
Yes.
5 years ago.
To be sure, it must be that.
Oh, those 5 years. Or at all events, the last 2 or 3 of them. Oh, if you could only imagine.
Eilert Lovborg has been in your neighborhood about 3 years, hasn't she?
Eilert Lovborg. Yes, she has.
Had you known her before? In town here?
Scarcely at all. I knew her by name, of course.
But you saw a good deal of her in the country.
Yes, she came to us every day. You see, she gave the children lessons, for in the long run, I couldn't manage it all myself.
No, that's clear. And your husband, I suppose he's often away from home.
Yes, being sheriff, you know, he has to travel about a good deal in his district.
Oh, my poor, sweet Thea. Now, you must tell me everything, exactly as it stands. What sort of a man is your husband, Thea? I should think he might be altogether too old for you. Is he kind to you?
Yes, that is true too. Everything about him is repellent to me. We have not a thought in common. We have no single point of sympathy, he and I.
But is he not fond of you all the same, in his own way?
Oh, I really don't know. I think he regards me simply as a useful property. And then it doesn't cost much to keep me.
That is stupid of you.
It cannot be otherwise. Not with him.
And with Eilert Lovborg, Thea?
Eilert Lovborg! What puts that into your head?
Well, my dear, I should say, when your husband sends you after him all the way to town.
I may just as well make a clean breast of it once, for it will all come out in any case.
Why, my dear Thea.
Well, to make a long story short, my husband did not know I was coming.
What? Your husband didn't know it?
No, of course not. For that matter, he was away from home himself. He was traveling. Oh, I could bear it no longer, Hedda.
And then?
So I put together some of my things as quietly as possible, and then I left the house.
But what did you think your husband will say when you go home again?
I shall never go back to him again.
Then you have left your home for good and all?
Yes, there was nothing else to be done.
But what do you think people will say of you, Thea?
They may say what they like, for I don't care. I've done nothing but what I had to do.
What are your plans now? What do you think of doing?
I don't know yet. I only know this, that I must live here where Eilert Lovborg is if I am to live at all.
My dear Thea, so how did this friendship between you and Eilert Lovborg come about?
Oh, it grew up gradually. I gained sort of influence over her. She gave up her old habits, not because I asked her to, but of course she saw how repulsive they were to me, and so she dropped them.
And you have reclaimed her, as the saying goes, my little Thea.
So she says herself, at any rate, and she has made a real human being of me, taught me to think and to understand so many things.
Did give you lessons, did she?
No, not exactly lessons, but she talked to me, talked about such an infinity of things. And then came the lovely, happy time when I began to share in her work, when she allowed me to help her.
Oh, she did she?
Yes, she never wrote anything without my assistance.
You two were good comrades.
Comrades, yes. Fancy, Hedda, that was the very word she used. I ought to be perfectly happy, but I cannot, for I don't know how long it will last.
Are you no surer of her than that?
A woman's shadow stands between Eilert Lovborg and me.
Who can that be?
Someone she knew in her past, someone she has never been wholly able to forget.
Well, what has she told you about this?
She has only once quite vaguely alluded to it.
Well, and what did she say?
She said that when they parted, she threatened to shoot her with a pistol.
Oh, nonsense. No one does that sort of thing here.
No, and that is why I think it must have been that red-haired singing woman whom she once...
Yes, very likely.
For I remember they used to say of her that she carried loaded firearms.
And it must have been her.
And now, just fancy, Hedda.
Here comes Tesman. Thea, all this must remain between you and me.
Oh, yes, for heaven's sake, of course.
There now, the epistle is finished.
Oh, that's right. And now Miss Elvsted is just going. She can take the letter to Lovborg.
As Mrs. Elvsted leaves, the Tesman's friend and neighbor, Judge Brack, pays a visit to remind Tesman that he promised to attend the judge's party that evening. Tesman, by the by, I have one piece of news for you. Your old friend, Eilert Lovborg, has returned to town, and I think I ought not to keep you in the dark about something that,
Concerns Eilert Lovborg?
Both you and her.
Well, my dear judge, out with it.
Well, you must be prepared to find your appointment deferred longer than you desired or expected. The nomination may perhaps be made conditional on the result of a competition.
Competition? But who can my competitor be? Surely not Eilert.
Precisely. Eilert Lovborg.
Fancy, Tesman. It'll be like a duel.
Why, my dearest Hedda, how can you be so indifferent about it?
I am not at all indifferent. I am most eager to see who wins.
Well, in any case, Mrs. Tesman, it is best that you should know how matters stand. I mean, before you set about that little purchase I hear you were threatening.
This can make no difference.
Oh, indeed. Then I have no more to say. Goodbye, Tesman. I shall look in on my way back from my afternoon walk and take you home with me.
Goodbye, Judge. Enjoy your call in the afternoon.
Oh, many thanks. Goodbye. Bye.
Oh, Hedda, there is no denying. It was adventurous to go and marry and set up house on mere expectations.
Perhaps you are right.
Well, at all events, we have our delightful home, Hedda. Fancy, the home we both dreamed of, the home we fell in love with, I may almost say, eh?
It was part of our compact that we were to go into society to keep an open house.
Yes, if only you knew how I had been looking forward to it. Fancy, to see you as hostess in a select circle. Well, for the present, we shall have to get on without society, Hedda, only to invite Aunt Julia every now and then. Oh, I intended for you to live such an utterly different life, dear.
Of course. So I cannot have my servants just yet.
Oh, no, Unfortunately, it would be out of the question for us to keep a footman, you know.
And the horse? I suppose I must not think of that now.
Heavens, no, that's as clear as daylight.
Well, I shall have at least one thing to kill time with in the meanwhile.
Oh, thank heaven for that. What is it, Hedda?
My pistols, Jorgen!
Your pistols?
General Gabler's pistols.
For heaven's sake, Hedda, darling, don't touch those dangerous things. For my sake, Hedda, eh?
Act 2. The room at the Tesmans is in the first act, except that the piano has been moved to the inner room and an elegant little writing table put in its place. It is afternoon. Hedda, dressed to receive callers, is alone in the room. She stands by the open glass door, loading a revolver. She looks down the garden and calls to Brack. So here you are again, Judge!
As you see, Mrs. Tesman.
Raises the pistol and points to Brack.
Ah.
How shoot you, Judge?
No, don't start aiming at me.
This is what comes of sneaking in the back way. She fires.
Are you out of your senses?
Oh, dear me! Did I happen to hit you?
Oh my goodness. I wish that you would leave these pranks alone.
Oh, come then, Judge.
Oh. Aren't you tired of that sport yet? What are you shooting at?
I'm only firing in the air.
Brack gently takes the pistol out of her hand. Now we won't play at these games anymore today.
What in heaven's name would you have me do with myself?
Well, have you no visitors?
Not one.
Oh, well, is Tesman not at home either?
No. He rushed off to his aunt's directly after lunch. He didn't expect you so early.
How stupid of me not to have thought of that.
Why stupid?
Well, because had I thought of it, I should have come a little earlier.
Then you would have found no one to receive you, for I've been in my room changing my dress ever since lunch.
Well, is there not some sort of little crack we could negotiate through?
You forgot to arrange one.
That was another piece of stupidity.
Well, we must just settle down here and wait. Tesman is not likely to be back for some time yet.
Oh, never mind. I should not be impatient.
Well, I spoke first.
Oh, come. Let us have a cozy little chat, Mrs. Tesman.
Oh, does it not seem like a whole eternity since our last talk? Of course, I didn't count those few words yesterday evening and this morning.
Since our last confidential talk, you mean?
Well, yes, since you put it so.
Not a day has passed, but I have not wished you were home again.
And I have done nothing but wish the same thing.
You? Really, Mrs. Hedda? And I thought you had been enjoying your tour so much.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, you may be sure of that.
Well, but Tesman's letter spoke of nothing but happiness.
Oh, Tesman. You see, he thinks nothing is so delightful as grubbing in libraries and making copies of old parchments or whatever you call them.
Well, that is his vocation in life. Or part of it, at any rate.
Yes, of course, and no doubt when it's your vocation. Dear Mr. Brack, how mortally bored I have been.
Oh, do you really say so in downright earnest?
Yes, you can surely understand it to go for 6 whole months without meeting a soul that knew anything of our circle or could talk about things we were interested in.
Yes, I too should feel that a deprivation.
And then what I found most intolerable of all was being everlastingly in the company of one and the same person.
So. But I should have thought with our excellent Tesman, one could...
Tesman? Tesman is a specialist, my dear Judge, and specialists are not at all amusing to travel with. Not in the long run, at any rate.
Not even the specialist one happens to love.
Oh, do not use the word love.
Why do you say that, Mrs. Hedda?
You should just try it, to hear of nothing but the history of civilization, morning, noon, and night.
Tell me, in any case, how am I to understand your...
By accepting Jorgen Tesman, you mean?
Well, let's put it so.
Good heavens. Do you see anything so wonderful in him?
Yes, And no, Mrs. Hedda?
I had positively danced myself tired, my dear judge. My day was done. And Jorgen Tesman, I didn't see anything absolutely ridiculous about him. Do you?
Ridiculous? No, I shouldn't say.
Well, and his powers of research at all events are untiring, so I see no reason why he should not one day come to the front, after all.
I thought that you, like everyone else, expected him to attain the highest distinction.
Yes, so I did. And then since he was bent at all hazards on being allowed to provide for me, I really don't know why I should not have accepted his offer.
No, if you look at it in that light.
It was more than any of my other adorers were prepared to do for me, my dear judge.
Well, I can't answer for all the rest, but as for myself, you know quite well that I have always held a certain appreciation for the marital tie.
I can assure you, I have never cherished any hopes with respect to you.
Well, all I require is a pleasant and intimate interior where I can make myself useful in every way and am free to come and go as a trusted friend of the mistress, first of all, but of course of the master too. Just triangular friendship, if I may call it so, is really a great convenience to all the parties, let me tell you.
Yes, I have long time imagined someone that could be a third on our travels.
Fortunately, your wedding journey is over now.
Oh, not by a long way. I've only just arrived at the station.
Oh, but suppose a third person were to jump in and join the couple.
Oh, that is quite another matter.
A trusted and sympathetic friend.
Fond of conversation on all sorts of lively topics.
And not the least bit a specialist.
Oh, yes, that would be a relief indeed.
Brack, here's the front door open. Ah, the triangle is complete.
And on goes the train.
Tesman enters, and they all sit around waiting for Eilert.
What books have you got there?
Some new books on my special subjects, quite indispensable to me.
Your special subjects?
Yes, books on his special subjects, Mrs. Tesman.
And look here, I've got a hold of Eilert Lovborg's new book, too. I looked into it a little on the way home.
What do you think of it, as a specialist?
I think it shows quite remarkable soundness of judgment. She never wrote like that before. Now I shall take all of these into my study, and then I must change my clothes. Judge Brack, I suppose we needn't start just yet?
Oh dear, no, there's not the slightest hurry.
Well then, I will take my time. Tesman leaves.
You are not really happy. That is at the bottom of it.
I know of no reason why I should be happy. Perhaps you can give me one.
Well, amongst other things, because you've got exactly the home you had set your heart on.
Oh, do you too believe that legend?
Is there nothing in it, then?
Oh, yes, there's something in it.
Well,
we happened to pass here one evening, and Tesman, the poor fellow, was writhing in agony of having to find conversation, so I took pity on the learned man. So, to help him out of his torment, I happened to say, in pure thoughtlessness, that I should like to live in this villa.
no more than that.
Well, my dear judge, as you make your bed, so you must lie. I could almost say.
Oh, this is exquisite.
My dear judge, you cannot imagine how horribly I shall bore myself here.
Oh, well, why should you not, too, find some sort of vocation in life, Mrs. Hedda?
Heaven knows what sort of vocation that could be. Although I often wonder whether I might get Tesman to go into politics.
Tesman. No, really now. Political life is not the thing for him. Oh, not at all in his line.
No, I dare say not. But if I could get him into it all the same.
Oh, why? What satisfaction could you find in that? If he is not fitted to that sort of thing, why should you want to drive him into it?
Because I am bored, I tell you. That is what makes life so pitiable, so utterly ludicrous, for that's what it is.
No, I should say the fault lay elsewhere.
Where, then?
You have never gone through any really stimulating experience.
Anything serious, you mean?
Yeah, you may call it so. But now you may perhaps have one in store.
Oh, you're thinking of the annoyances about this wretched professorship. No, but that must be Tesman's own affair. I assure you I shall not waste a thought of it.
No, I dare say not. But suppose now that what people call, in elegant language, a solemn responsibility were to come upon you. A new responsibility, Mrs. Hedda.
Be quiet! Nothing of that sort will ever happen.
You might be expecting...
I have no turn for anything of the sort, Judge Brack. No responsibilities for me.
You so unlike the generality of women as to have no turn.
Quiet, I tell you. I often think there is only one thing in the world I have any turn for.
And what is that, if I may ask?
Boring myself to death. Now you know it. Yeah. As I thought, here comes the professor.
Oh, come, Mrs. Hedda.
Tesman, dressed for the party with his gloves and hat in his hand, enters through the inner room. Hedda, has no message come from Eilert Lovborg?
No.
Do you really think she'll come?
Yes, I am almost sure of it. For what you were telling us this morning must have been a mere floating rumor.
Eilert Lovborg enters.
Tesman goes up to her and shakes her hand. Well, my dear Eilert, so at last we meet again.
Thanks for your letter, Tesman. Will you two shake hands with me, Mrs. Tesman?
I'm glad to see you, Miss Lovborg. I don't know whether you two...
Judge Brack, I think.
Oh, yes, in the old days.
And now you must make yourself entirely at home, Eilert. Mustn't she, Hedda? For I hear you are going to settle in town again.
Yes, I am.
Quite right. Let me tell you, I have got a hold of your new book, but I haven't time to read it yet.
Oh, you may spare yourself the trouble.
But it has been very much praised, I hear.
That was what I wanted, so I put nothing into the book but what everyone would agree with.
How very wise of you.
Oh, but my dear Eilert, how...
Lovborg draws a packet wrapped in paper from her coat pocket. But when this one appears, Jorgen Tesman, you will have to read it. For this is the real book, the book I have put my true self into.
Indeed. And what is it?
It is the continuation of the book, and this one deals with the future.
With the future? But good heavens, we know nothing of the future.
No, but there is a thing or two to be said about it all the same. I brought it thinking I might read you a little of it this evening.
Well, that was very good of you, Eilert. But this evening, I don't see how we can manage it.
Oh, well, then some other time. There's no hurry.
Oh, I must tell you, Mrs. Lovborg, there is a little gathering at my house this evening. Will you not do me the great favor of joining us?
No, I can't. Thank you very much.
Oh, nonsense. Do. We shall be quite a select little circle, and I assure you we shall have a lively time, as Mrs. Tesman says.
I have no doubt of it, but nevertheless...
And then you might bring your manuscript with you and read it to Tesman at my house, and I could give you a room all to yourselves.
Think of that, Eilert. I mean, why shouldn't you?
But, Tesman, if Miss Lovborg would really rather not attend your vulgar party, I'm sure she's much more inclined to remain here and have supper with me.
With you, Mrs. Tesman.
And Mrs. Elvsted.
I saw her for a moment this morning.
Did you? Well, she's coming this evening. So, you see, you are almost bound to remain, Miss Lovborg, or she will have no one to see her home.
That's true. Many thanks, Mrs. Tesman. In that case, I will remain.
Tell me, Eilert, is this new subject, the future, is that you are going to lecture about?
Yes.
They told me at the booksellers that you are doing to deliver a course of lectures this autumn.
I can understand that it must be very disagreeable to you.
Oh, I mean, I can't expect you out of consideration for me
but
to...
I shall wait till you have received your appointment.
Will you wait? Yes, but yeah, are you not going to compete with me?
No, it is only the moral victory I care for.
Oh, yes, I knew it! Hedda, just fancy. Eilert Lovborg is not going to stand in our way.
Our way? Pray, leave me out of the question. You stand there looking as if you were thunderstruck.
Oh, don't you see, Mrs. Tesman? A thunderstorm has just passed over.
Will you not take a glass of cold punch?
Oh, yes, it wouldn't come amiss.
Capital idea, Hedda, just the thing.
Will you not join them, Miss Lovborg?
No, thank you. Nothing for me.
Why, bless me. Cold punch surely isn't poison.
Perhaps not for everyone.
I will keep Miss Lovborg company in the meantime.
Yes, yes, Hedda, dear, do. Tesman and Brack go into the inner room.
Do you care to look at some photographs, Miss Lovborg? You know, Tesman and I made a tour in the Tyrol on our way home. Do you see this range of mountains? Miss Lovborg, Tesman has written a name underneath. Here it is, the Ortler Group.
Hedda Gabler.
That was my name in the old days when we two knew each other.
Hedda Gabler, married to Jorgen Tesman.
Yeah, so the world goes.
Oh, Hedda, how could you throw yourself away?
Tesman enters and goes toward the sofa.
And this is a view from the Val de Peso. Miss Lovborg, just look at these peaks. What's the name of these curious peaks, dear?
Oh, let me see. Those are the Dolomites.
Yes, that's it.
Hedda, dear, I only wanted to ask whether I shouldn't bring you a little punch after all.
Yes, please do.
Tesman goes to get punch from the inner room.
How could you go and do this?
Tesman enters with a small tray with 2 glasses and a small carafe for punch. Here you are. Isn't this tempting?
Miss Lovborg said she wouldn't have any.
No, but Mrs. Elvsted will soon be here, won't she?
Yes, Miss Elvsted.
Had you forgotten her?
We were so absorbed in these photographs.
Ah, fancy. If we could only have had you with us, Eilert. Tesman returns to the inner room and sits beside Brack.
Answer me one thing, Hedda. Was there no love in your friendship for me? Not a spark, not a tinge of love in it?
I wonder if there was. To me, it appears we were 2 good comrades. 2 thoroughly intimate friends.
Yes, Hedda. When I used to come to your father's in the afternoon and the general sat over at the window reading his papers with his back towards us.
And we too were on the sofa corner.
Always with the same illustrated paper before us. And when I made my confessions to you, oh, Hedda, what was the power in you that forced me to confess these things?
Do you think it was any power in me?
How else can I explain it? And all those roundabout questions you used to put to me.
How could you answer, Miss Lovborg?
Yes, that is just what I can't understand in looking back on it. But tell me now, Hedda, was there not love at the bottom of our friendship?
No, not quite.
What was your motive, then?
Do you think it quite incomprehensible that a young girl, when it can be done without anyone knowing?
Comradeship in the thirst for life. But why should not that, at any rate, have continued?
The fault was yours.
It was you that broke with me.
Yes, when our friendship threatened to develop into something more serious. Shame on you, Eilert Lovborg.
Oh, why did you not carry out your threat? Why did you not shoot me down?
Because I have such a dread of scandal.
Yes, Hedda, you are a coward.
A terrible coward, yes. But it was a lucky thing for you. And now you have found ample consolation at the Elvsteds.
I know what Thea has confided to you.
Perhaps you have confided in her something about us?
Not a word. She is too stupid to understand anything of that sort.
Mrs. Elvsted enters.
My darling Thea, come along.
Ought I to go in and talk to your husband a moment?
Oh, not at all. Leave those 2 alone. They will be soon going.
Hedda, isn't she lovely to look at? She and I, we are 2 real comrades. We have absolute faith in each other, so we can sit and talk with perfect frankness.
Oh, how happy I am, Hedda. For only think, she says I have inspired her too.
Ah, does she say that here?
And then she is so brave, Mrs. Tesman.
But no, my dearest Thea, you must really have a glass of cold punch.
No, thanks. I never take anything of that kind.
Well, then you, Miss Lovborg.
No, she doesn't either.
But if I say you shall.
It would be of no use.
Then I, poor creature, have no sort of power over you.
Not in that respect.
But seriously, I think you ought to. For your own sake.
Why, Hedda.
How so?
Or rather, on account of other people.
Indeed.
Otherwise, people might be apt to suspect that, well, in your heart of hearts, you did not feel quite secure, quite confident with yourself.
Oh, please, Hedda.
People may suspect what they like.
Yes, let them.
I saw it plainly on Judge Brack's face a moment ago.
What did you see?
Her contemptuous smile when you dared not go into the inner room.
Dared not. I prefer to stop here and talk to you.
What could be more natural, Hedda?
But the judge could not guess that. And I say, too, the way she smiled and glanced at Tesman when you dared not to accept her invitation to this wretched supper party of hers.
Dared not? Do you say I dared not?
Oh, I don't say so. But that was how Judge Brack understood it.
Well, let her.
Then you are not going with them?
I will stay here with you and Thea.
Yes, Hedda, how can you doubt that?
Faithful to your principles. Now and forever. Well, Thea, what did I tell you when you came to us this morning in such a state of distraction? You can see for yourself, you haven't the slightest reason to be in such mortal terror. There. Now we can all three enjoy ourselves.
Oh my God, Hedda, what are you saying? What are you doing?
So she was in mortal terror. On my account.
Oh, Hedda, now you have ruined everything.
So that was my comrade's frank confidence in me.
Oh, my dearest friend, only let me tell you.
Lovborg takes one of the glasses of punch, raises it to her lips. Your health, Thea.
Oh, Hedda, how could you do this?
I do it. Are you crazy?
Here's to your health too, Mrs. Tesman. Thanks for the truth. Hurrah for the truth. Lovborg downs another glass of punch.
Come. No more for the present. Remember, you're going to supper.
No.
They're sitting watching you.
Now, Thea, tell me the truth.
Yes.
Did your husband know that you had come after me?
Oh, Hedda, do you hear what she is asking?
Was it arranged between you and him that you were to come to town and look after me? Perhaps it was the sheriff himself that urged you to come.
Oh, Lovborg, you must...
Lovborg seizes a glass and is on the point of filling it. Here's a glass for the old sheriff, too.
No more just now. Remember, you must read your manuscript to Tesman.
Brack and Tesman rise and come into the drawing room. Well, Mrs. Tesman, our time has come.
I suppose it has.
Mine, too, Judge Brack. You were good enough to invite me.
I'm delighted.
Tesman, I should like to show you one or two things from the manuscript before I send it to the printers.
Fancy, that will be delightful. But Hedda, dear, how is Mrs. Elvsted to get home?
That can be managed somehow.
Mrs. Elvsted? Of course, I'll come again at about 10 o'clock and fetch her.
Certainly. That will do capitally.
Well, then that's all right. But you must not expect me so early, Hedda.
No, you may stay as long as you want. As long as you ever please.
Well, goodbye, ladies.
About 10 o'clock, then. Lovborg, Brack, and Tesman leave.
Hedda, what will come of all this?
At 10 o'clock, she will be here. I can see her already with vine leaves in her hair, flushed and fearless.
Oh, I hope she may.
And then you see, then she will have regained control over herself. Then she will be a free woman for all of her days.
You have some hidden motive in this, Hedda.
Yes, I have. I want for once in my life to have power to mold a human destiny.
Have you not the power?
I have not, and have never had it.
Not your husband's.
Do you think that is worth the trouble? Oh, if only you could understand how poor I am. And fate has made you so rich. I think I must burn your hair off after all.
Let me go! Let me go! I am afraid of you, Hedda. I would rather go home alone at once.
Oh, nonsense! First you shall have a cup of tea, you little stupid thing. And then, at 10 o'clock, Eilert Lovborg will be here with vine leaves in her hair.
Act 3. The morning after. It's past 7.
Oh. When did Tesman come home?
No one has come.
Think of our watching and waiting here till 4 in the morning.
And how I watched and waited for her.
Well, we might have spared ourselves the trouble.
Did you get a little sleep?
Oh, yes. I believe I've slept pretty well. Have you not?
Not for a moment. I couldn't, Hedda, not to save my life.
There's nothing to be so alarmed about. I understand quite well what has happened.
Well, what do you think? Why won't you tell me?
Why, of course, it has been a very late affair at Judge Brack's.
Yes, that is clear enough, but all the same.
And then, you see, Tesman hasn't cared to come home and ring us up in the middle of the night.
But in that case, where can he have gone?
Of course, he has gone to his aunt's and slept there. They have his old room ready for him.
No, he can't be with them, for a letter has just come for him from Miss Tesman. There it lies.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Why, yes. It's addressed in Aunt Julia's hand. Well, then he has remained at Judge Brack's. And as for Eilert Lovborg, she is sitting with vine leaves in her hair, reading her manuscript.
Oh, Hedda, you're just saying things you don't believe a bit.
You really are a little blockhead, Thea.
Yes, I suppose I am.
How mortally tired you look.
Yes, I am mortally tired.
Well, then you must do as I tell you. You must go into my room and lie down for a little while.
As Mrs. Elvsted heads upstairs,
And enters and tiptoes toward the drawing room.
Good morning.
Hedda! Good heavens, are you up so early?
Yes, I am up very early this morning.
And I never doubted you were still sound asleep. Fancy that, Hedda.
Speak so loud. Mrs. Elvsted is in my room.
Has Mrs. Elvsted been here all night?
Yes, since no one came to fetch her.
Ah, to be sure.
Well, did you enjoy yourself at Judge Brack's?
Have you been anxious about me?
No.
Oh.
I should never think of being anxious, but I asked if you had enjoyed yourself.
Oh, yes, especially in the beginning of the evening, for then Eilert read me part of her book. Oh, Hedda, you cannot conceive what a book this is going to be. I believe it is one of the most remarkable things that have ever been written. Fancy that.
Yes, no, I don't care about that.
I must make a confession to you, Hedda. When she had finished reading, a horrid feeling came over me.
A horrid feeling.
Yes, I felt jealous of Eilert for having had it in her to write such a book. Only think, Hedda.
I am thinking.
And then how pitiful to think that she is incapable of taking her pleasure in moderation.
And what came of it all? In the end, had she vine leaves in her hair?
Vine leaves? No, I saw nothing of the sort. But she made a long, rambling speech in honor of the woman who had inspired her work. That was the phrase she used.
Did she name her?
No, she didn't. But I can't help thinking that she meant Mrs. Elvsted.
Well, where did you part from her?
On my way to town, we broke up, the last of us at any rate, altogether. And Brack came with us to get a breath of fresh air. And then, you see, we agreed all to take Eilert home, for she had had far more than was good for her. Well, as we were getting near town, you see, I happened to drop a little behind the others, only for a minute or two. Fancy that.
Yes, but...
And then, as I hurried after them, what do you think I found by the wayside?
How should I know?
You mustn't speak of it to a soul, Hedda. Do you promise me? Do you hear? For Eilert's sake. Fancy, dear, I found the whole of her precious, irreplaceable manuscript.
and she had gone and lost it and knew nothing about it. Only fancy, Hedda, so deplorably.
Why did you not give it back the parcel at once?
Well, I didn't dare to. I mean, in the state that she was in.
Did you not tell any of the others that you had found it?
Oh, far from it. But you can surely understand that for Eilert's sake, I wouldn't do that.
So no one knows that Eilert's Lovborg's manuscript is in your possession?
No, and no one must know it.
Then what did you say to him afterwards?
Well, I didn't talk to him again at all. For when we got in among the streets, she and 2 or 3 of the others gave us the slip and disappeared.
And what have you been doing with yourself since?
Well, I and some of the others went home with one of the party, a jolly fellow, and took our morning coffee with him. Or perhaps I should rather call it our night coffee. But now, when I have rested a little, I must take this manuscript back to Eilert.
No, don't give it to her. Not in such a hurry, I mean. Let me read it first.
No, my dearest Hedda, I mustn't. I really mustn't, for she has no copy of it, you must know. She told me so.
Can such a thing not be reproduced? Written over again?
Oh, I don't think that would be possible. For the inspiration, you see.
Yes, I suppose it depends on that. Oh, here is a letter for you. It came early this morning.
Oh, it's from Aunt Julia. What can it be? Oh, Hedda. She says that poor Aunt Rena is dying, and that if I want to see her again, I must make haste. I'll run to them at once.
Will you run?
Oh, my dearest Hedda, if you could only make up your mind to come with me. Just think.
Oh, no, don't ask me. I will not look upon sickness and death. I loathe all sorts of ugliness. The parcel, Tesman.
Oh, yes, give it to me.
No, I will keep it till you come back.
Judge Brack enters as Tesman is on his way out.
You are an early bird, I must say.
Yes, don't you think so? Tesman, are you on the move too?
Yes, you see, I must rush off to my aunt's. The invalid one is lying at death's door, poor creature.
Oh, dear me, is she indeed?
Yes, I really must rush. Goodbye.
Oh.
Now then.
Do you know where Lovborg and 1 or 2 others finished the night, Mrs. Hedda?
If it is not quite unmentionable, tell me.
Oh, no, it is not at all unmentionable. Well, they put in an appearance at a particularly animated soiree. You see, it was Mademoiselle Diana that had been giving the soiree to a select circle of her admirers and her lady friends. Eilert Lovborg was one of her most enthusiastic protectors in the days of her glory.
And how did all this end?
She accused Mademoiselle Diana or her friends of having robbed her. She declared that her pocketbook had disappeared, and other things as well. In short, she seemed to have made a furious disturbance.
What came of it all?
Oh, it came to a general scrimmage, in which the ladies, as well as the gentlemen, took part. Fortunately, the police at last appeared on the scene. They had to march her off to the police station with the rest.
How have you learned all this?
From the police themselves.
So that is what happened. Well, then she had no vine leaves in her hair.
Vine leaves, Mrs. Hedda?
But tell me now, Judge, what is your real reason for tracking out Eilert Lovborg's movements so carefully?
Oh, well, in the first place, it could not be entirely indifferent to me if it should appear in the police court that she came straight from my house.
Will the matter come into court then?
Oh, of course. Henceforth, as before, every respectable house will be closed against Eilert Lovborg.
And so ought mine to be, you mean?
Yes. I confess it would be more than painful to me if this personage were to be made free of your house. How superfluous, how intrusive she would be if she were to force her way into
the triangle.
Oh, precisely. It would simply mean I should find myself homeless.
I see you are a dangerous person when it comes to the point.
Do you think so?
I'm beginning to think so. And I'm exceedingly glad to think that you have no sort of hold over me.
Well, Mrs. Hedda, perhaps you are right there. If I had, who knows what I might be capable of.
Oh, come now, Judge Brack. That almost sounds like a threat.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, now, I said that all I had to say, and I had better be getting back to town. Goodbye, Mrs. Hedda.
Eilert Lovborg enters hastily.
Well, Miss Lovborg, this is rather a late hour to call for Thea.
You mean rather an early hour to call on you. Pray, pardon me.
How do you know that she is still here?
They told me at her lodgings that she had been out all night.
Did you notice anything about the people of the house when they said that?
Notice anything about them?
I mean, did they think it odd?
Oh, yes, of course. I am dragging her down with me. However, I didn't notice anything. I suppose Tesman is not up yet?
No, I think not.
When did he come home?
Very late.
Did he tell you anything?
Yes. I gathered that you had an exceedingly jolly evening at Judge Brack's.
Nothing more?
I don't think so. However, I was so dreadfully sleepy.
Mrs. Elvsted enters. Oh, Lovborg, at last!
Yes, at last, and too late.
What is too late?
Everything is too late now. It is all over with me.
Oh, no, don't say that.
You will say the same when you hear.
Perhaps you would prefer to talk to her alone. If so, I will leave.
No, stay. You two, I beg you to stay.
Yes, but I won't hear anything, I tell you.
It is not last night's adventures that I want to talk about.
What is it then?
I want to say now that our ways must part.
Part?
You can be of no more service to me, Thea.
How can you stand there and say that? No more service to you. Am I not to help you now as before? Are we not to go on working together?
Henceforward, I shall do no work.
Then what am I to do with my life?
You must try to live your life as if you had never known me.
But you know I cannot do that.
Try if you cannot, Thea. You must go home again.
I will not let myself be driven away like this. I will remain here. I will be with you when the book appears.
Oh, yes, the book.
My book and Thea's, for that is what it is.
Yes, I feel that it is. And that is why I have a right to be with you when it appears.
Our book will never appear.
Lovborg, what have you done with the manuscript?
Well, then I have torn the manuscript into 1,000 pieces.
Oh,
But that's not.
no, that... Oh, God, Hedda, torn her own work to pieces. I shall think of this to my dying day as though you had killed a little child.
Yes, you are right. It is a sort of child murder.
How could you then? Does not the child belong to me too? It is all over then. Well, now I must go. Hedda.
It will not end with last night. I know that perfectly well. And the thing is that now I have no taste for that sort of life either. I won't begin it anew. She has broken my courage and my power of braving life out.
So that pretty little fool has had her fingers in a human's destiny. But all the same, how could you treat her so heartlessly?
Oh, don't say that I was heartless.
To go and destroy what has filled her whole soul for months and years? You do not call that heartless?
To you, I can tell the truth, Hedda.
The truth?
First, promise me. Give me your word that what I now confide in you, Thea shall never know.
I give you my word.
Good. Then let me tell you that what I said just now was untrue. I have not torn it to pieces, nor thrown it out into the fjord.
But where is it then?
I have destroyed it, nonetheless, utterly destroyed it.
I don't understand.
Suppose now, Hedda, that a parent, in the small hours of the morning, came home to her child's mother after a night of riot and debauchery and said, "Listen, I have lost the child. Utterly lost it. The devil knows into what hands it may have fallen, who may have had their clutches upon it."
What path do you mean to take then?
None. I will only try to make an end of it all. The sooner the better.
Eilert Lovborg, listen to me. Will you not try to do it beautifully?
Beautifully. With vine leaves in my hair, as you used to dream in the old days.
No. I have lost my faith in the vine leaves, but beautifully nevertheless. For once, in a way. You must go now. Do not come here anymore.
Goodbye, Mrs. Tesman.
No, wait, I must give you a minute to take with you. Hedda goes to the writing table and opens the drawer and the pistol case, then returns to Lovborg with one of the pistols. Do you recognize it? It was aimed at you once.
You should have used it then.
Take it. And you use it now.
Lovborg puts the pistol in her breast pocket. Thanks.
And beautifully. Eilert Lovborg. Promise me that.
Goodbye, Hedda Gabler. Lovborg goes out by the hall door.
Hedda goes and takes out Eilert's manuscript.
She then goes with the packet and sits by the fireplace.
She opens the door and throws the manuscript into the fire.
Now I am burning your child, Thea. Burning it. Curly Locks, your child, and Eilert Lovborg's. I am burning your child!
Act 4. Same room, later in the day. Tesman returns from Aunt Julia's. Hedda, I'm back! Let me have the manuscript, Hedda. I will take it to Eilert at once. Where is it?
I am here. I hear you. I have not got it.
Have not got it. What in the world do you mean?
I have burnt it. Every line of it.
Burnt? Burnt Eilert's manuscript? It's impossible.
True, nevertheless.
Do you know what you have done, Hedda? It's unlawful appropriation of lost property. Fancy that. Oh, just ask Judge Brack and she'll tell you what it is.
I advise you not to speak of it to either Judge Brack or anyone else.
But how could you do anything so unheard of? What put that into your head? What possessed you? Answer me that, eh?
I did it for your sake, Jorgen.
For my sake?
This morning when you told me about what she had read to you.
Yes, what then?
You acknowledged that you envied her work.
Of course, I didn't mean that literally.
No matter. I could not bear the idea that anyone should throw you into the shade.
Oh, Hedda, is this true? But I never knew of you to show your love like that before.
Well, I may as well tell you. Just at this time, I'm expecting.
Expecting what, dear?
No, you can ask Aunt Julia. She will tell you fast enough.
Oh, I almost think I understand you, Hedda.
It is killing me. It is killing me, all this.
What is, Hedda, eh?
All this absurdity, Jorgen.
Absurdity? Do you see anything absurd in my being overjoyed at the news? Oh, Aunt Julia will be so happy, so
happy when she hears that I've burnt Eilert Lovborg's manuscript for your sake.
No. Not the affair of the manuscript, of course. Nobody must know about that. But that you love me so much, Hedda. Aunt Julia really must share my joy in that. And yet, the manuscript. Manuscript, good God. It is terrible what will become of poor Eilert now.
Mrs. Elvsted enters. Oh, dear Hedda, forgive my coming again.
What is the matter with you, Thea?
Something about Eilert Lovborg, eh?
Yes, I'm dreadfully afraid some misfortune has happened to her.
Oh, do you think so?
Good Lord, what makes you think that, Mrs. Elvsted?
I heard them talking about him at my boarding house just as I came in. Oh, the most incredible rumors are afloat about her today.
Yes, fancy. I heard too. And I can bear witness that she went straight home to bed last night. Fancy that.
Well, what did they say at the boarding house?
Oh, I couldn't make out anything clearly. Either they knew nothing definite, or else they stopped talking when they saw me and I didn't dare ask.
We must hope that that you misunderstood them, Mrs. Elvsted.
No, I am sure it was of Lovborg they were talking, and I heard something about the hospital, or...
The hospital?
No, surely that cannot be.
Oh, I was in such mortal terror. I went to her lodgings and asked for her there, and the people knew nothing about her. She hadn't been home since yesterday afternoon, they said.
Yesterday? Fancy, how could they say that?
I am sure something terrible must have happened to her.
Oh, Hedda, dear, how would it be if I were to go and make inquiries?
No, don't you mix yourself up in this.
Judge Brack enters. It was imperative that I see you this evening. I am here with some news.
Oh, is it something about Eilert Lovborg?
What makes you say that, madam? Perhaps you have already heard something.
No, nothing at all, but...
For heaven's sake, tell us!
I regret to say Eilert Lovborg has been taken to the hospital. She is lying at the point of death.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
So soon then.
And we parted in anger. Hedda, I must go to her. I must see her alive.
It is useless, madam. Nobody will be admitted.
Oh, at least tell me what's happened to her. What is it?
You don't mean to say that she has herself...
Yes, I'm sure she has.
Unfortunately, you have guessed quite correctly, Mrs. Tesman.
Oh, how horrible.
Herself, then? Fancy that.
Shot herself.
Rightly guessed again, Mrs. Tesman.
When did it happen, Miss Brack?
This afternoon, between 3 and 4.
Good Lord, where did she do it?
Oh, I only know that she was found. She had shot herself in the breast.
Oh, how terrible.
Mm.
She should die like that.
Not in the temple?
In the breast, Mrs. Tesman.
Well, the breast is a good place to.
But tell me, how have you learnt all this?
The police.
At last, a deed worth doing.
Good heavens, Hedda, what are you saying?
I say there is beauty in this.
Mrs. Tesman.
Hedda, how can you talk of beauty in such an act?
Eilert Lovborg has herself made up her own account with life. She has had the courage to do the one right thing.
No, you must never think that was how it happened. It must have been in delirium that she did it.
In despair.
That she did not. I am certain of that.
Yes, in delirium, just as when she tore up our manuscript.
The manuscript? Has she torn it up?
Yes, last night.
To think of Eilert going out of the world in this way and not leaving behind her the book that would have immortalized her name.
Oh, if it only could be put together again.
Yes, if only it could. I don't know what I would not give.
Perhaps it can, Mr. Tesman.
Well, what do you mean?
Look, here. I have all the loose notes she used to dictate from.
You have kept them, Mrs. Elvsted, hey?
Yes, I have them here. I put them in my pocket when I left home.
Oh, do let me see them.
But they are in such disorder, all mixed up.
Fancy, if we could make something out of them after all, perhaps if we two put our heads together.
Yes, oh yes, at least let us try.
We will manage it. We must. I will dedicate my life to this task.
You, Jorgen, your life.
Yes. Or rather, all the time I can spare. My own collections must wait in the meantime. Hedda, you can understand. I owe this to Eilert's memory.
Perhaps.
Well then, come here. I cannot rest until we have looked through these notes. Where shall we sit? Here? Oh, no, there in the back room. Excuse me, my dear judge. Come with me, Mrs. Elvsted.
Oh, if only it were possible.
What a freedom it gives. This act of Eilert Lovborg's.
Freedom, Mrs. Hedda? Well, of course it is a release for her.
I mean for me. It gives me a sense of freedom to know that a deed of deliberate courage is still possible in the world. A deed of spontaneous beauty.
My dear Mrs. Hedda, Eilert Lovborg was more to you than perhaps you're willing to admit to yourself. Am I wrong?
I don't answer such questions. I only know that Eilert Lovborg has had the courage to live her life after her own fashion. And then with the last great act with its beauty, that she should have the will and the strength to turn away from the banquet of life so early.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Hedda, but I fear I must dispel an amiable illusion.
Illusion.
Which could have not lasted long in any case.
What do you mean?
Eilert Lovborg did not shoot herself voluntarily.
Voluntarily?
No.
Have you concealed something? What is it?
For poor Miss Elvsted's sake, I idealized the facts a little.
What are the facts?
First, that she is already dead.
At the hospital?
Yes, without regaining consciousness.
What more have you concealed?
I must tell you, Eilert Lovborg was found shot in Mademoiselle's Diana's boudoir.
That is impossible, Judge Brack. She cannot have been there again today.
She was there this afternoon. She went there to demand the return of something which they had taken from her. She talked wildly about a child.
So that's why...
I thought perhaps she meant her manuscript, but now I hear that she destroyed that herself, so I suppose it must have been her pocketbook.
Yes. No doubt. And there she was found?
Yes, there. With a pistol in her breast pocket, discharged. The ball had lodged in a vital part.
In the breast? Yes?
No. In the bowels.
Oh, what a curse that makes everything I touch turn ludicrous and mean.
There's one point more, Mrs. Hedda. Another disagreeable feature in the affair.
And what is that?
The pistol she carried, she must have stolen it.
That is not true. She did not steal it.
Well, no other explanation is possible. She must have stolen it. Hush.
Hedda, dear, it's almost impossible to see under that lamp. Think of that.
Yes, I am thinking.
Would you mind our sitting at your writing table?
You like. No, wait. Let me clear it first.
Oh, no, you needn't trouble, Hedda. There is plenty of room.
No, let me clear it, I say. I will take these things in and put them on the piano. There. What did you say about the pistol?
That she must have stolen it.
Why stolen it?
Because every other explanation ought to be impossible, Mrs. Hedda.
Indeed?
Of course. Eilert Lovborg was here this morning, was she not?
Yes.
Were you alone with her?
Part of the time.
Did you not leave the room while she was here?
No.
Try to recollect. Were you not out of the room for a moment?
Yes, perhaps just for a moment out in the hall.
And where was your pistol case during this time?
I had it locked up.
No? Mrs. Hedda?
The case stood there on the writing table.
Have you looked since to see whether both pistols are there?
No.
Well, you need not. I saw the pistol found in Lovborg's pocket, and I knew it at once as the one I had seen yesterday. And before, too.
Do you have it with you?
No, the police have it.
Well, what will the police do with it?
Search till they find the owner.
Do you think that they will succeed?
No, Hedda Gabler. Not so long as I say nothing.
And if you do not say nothing, what then?
Well, there is always the possibility the pistol was stolen.
Death rather than that.
Oh, people say such things, but they don't do them.
And supposing the pistol was stolen and the owner is discovered, what then?
Well, Hedda, then comes the scandal.
Scandal?
Yes, the scandal, of which you are so mortally afraid. You will, of course, be brought before the court, both you and Mademoiselle Diana. She will have to explain how the thing happened, whether it was an accidental shot or murder. Did the pistol go off as she was trying to take it out of his pocket, or to threaten her with, or did she tear the pistol out of Eilert's hand and shoot her and push it back into her pocket? That would be quite like Mademoiselle Diana, for she is an able-bodied young person.
But I have nothing to do with all this repulsive business.
No, but you will have to answer the question, why did you give Eilert the pistol? And what conclusion will people draw from the fact that you did give it to her?
That is true. I did not think of that.
Well, fortunately, there is no danger so long as I say nothing.
So I am in your power, Judge Brack. You have me at your beck and call from this time forward.
Dearest Hedda, believe me, I shall not abuse my advantage.
I'm in your power nonetheless. Subject to your will and your demands. A slave them. No, I cannot endure the thought of that. Never.
Well, people generally get used to the inevitable.
Yes. Perhaps. Well, are you getting on, Jorgen?
Heaven knows, dear. In any case, it will be the work of months.
Fancy that. Doesn't it seem strange to you, Thea? Here you are, sitting with Tesman, just as you used to sit with Eilert Lovborg.
Oh, if only I could inspire your husband in the same way.
That will come too, in time.
Yes, do you know, Hedda, I really think I begin to feel something of the sort. But won't you go and sit with Brack again?
Is there nothing I can do to help you two?
Oh, no, nothing in the world. I trust you to keep Hedda company, my dear Brack.
Well, with the very greatest of pleasure.
Thanks, but I am tired this evening. I will go in and lie down a little on the sofa.
Yes, do, dear, eh?
Yes. Don't you flatter yourself we will, Judge Brack, now that you are the only dog in the yard.
Hedda goes to the back room. Frantic piano music is heard. Everyone seems displeased. Then a shot is heard from where she is.
Oh, now she is playing with those pistols again.
Tesman opens the curtain to the back room to see what's going on.
Shot herself! Shot herself in the temple! Fancy that!
Oh, good God! People don't do such things!
The end.
Yeah!
Yay! So all the light went away halfway through. That's fine.
Oh, yes, it was very dramatic.
I'm sure we'll be here in a minute to say thank you all for joining us. I think we're having a brief Q&A afterwards. So if you do have questions, here in a minute to say thank you all for joining us. I think we're having a brief Q&A afterwards. So if you do have questions, here in a minute to say thank you all for joining us. I think we're having a brief Q&A afterwards. So if you do have
Hello. No technical difficulties on my end, but I figured it out. I had it playing on 2 screens.
Amazing.
For those watching, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. I thought everyone was super wonderful, but I guess I'm biased. So if you have any questions at all for any of these wonderful actors, our wonderful swing waiting in the wings, me, even our wonderful technical director, Zeynep, who unfortunately cannot be seen on the camera currently, but we are willing to accept questions about anything about the show, about working as actors generally, about working as actors in this very moment. So we will turn it over to the comment section on Facebook if anybody has any questions at all. So we will patiently wait in the meantime. There's lots of nice comments, which is very nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, wow.
That's so cool how they're just like...
We're getting a wait,
fun and new.
I'm logging this down as a standing O. In the meantime, while we wait on questions, I want to bring up again that there is a No Exit Theater Collective tip jar that you can give to on Venmo. That is at No Exit TC. Any money that you give, it doesn't matter if it's 50 cents or $5 or $10, whatever you're able to give and comfortable with giving, we are super gracious and super thankful. It is all equally split with all of these wonderful creatives. A little money can go a long way right now. So thank you for all who have given. At this point, we have gotten contributions from Charles McDonald, Maxim Ibadoff, Raylan Chapman, Matt Tamanini, Marley Madden, and Kent Hale. Thank you all so much for your generosity. It really is appreciated in this moment. We're still waiting on a few questions. But before we do, I think that the actors should go through and just introduce themselves. We have so many wonderful actors here. So Anja, if you could start to talk a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Hi, my name is Anja Avsharian. I played Hedda. I went to theater school. I went to performing arts high school and then went to Loyola New Orleans and then transferred to Lee Strasberg in the city. And I studied method acting there, which was awesome. And then I was in a few shows at the Players Theater off Broadway. And that's how I kind of got my start in New York City theater, at the Players Theater doing Beauty and the Beast and A Christmas Carol. And then I was in The Argentinian Prostitute, which is actually directed by Z, who is technical directing this. And I worked alongside Ben, who's our director here now. So that's all very exciting. And it's really cool to be here. I was supposed to go to London this summer to study Shakespeare, but Corona.
Great. And Ellie, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. I am Emily Johnson-Erday. I'm an actor, musician, and a composer. So the last few shows I've done have involved these cute little instruments down here. I play banjo and guitar, and that's how I met Ben doing a production of The Trial of Mrs. Surratt, which was a play with music. I've written a couple musicals, and you will probably see something come up called Soldier Girls. It's about two women who fall in love in World War II. I think that it will be fun. And yeah, my quarantine has been a lot of gardening.
Yes.
Keith.
Hey everyone, I'm Keith Hale. I played Jorgen Tesman. I am a Brooklyn-based actor, originally from Houston, Texas. I've been doing a lot of Shakespeare regionally. I've worked in Boston, Connecticut, New York City, and most recently in New Jersey at the Shakespeare Theater in New Jersey, where I met Ben and Ellie. We were doing school tours of Midsummer Night's Dream and Julius Caesar when coronavirus unfortunately ended our run. So that's where I'm at.
Ellie?
Rough.
Hello, I'm Ellie Gossage. Again, Brooklyn-based actor, went to NYU for acting, and I've been doing lots of like audiobook work and voiceover work while I've been quarantined. So it's been fun to sort of get to connect with technology, which was not part of any of our educations, I would assume, in any significant way. So we've got some computer science majors and things. But yeah, that's mostly my background.
Great. Cheryle.
Hi everyone, I'm Cheryle Chong. I played Eilert in Lovborg. Right now, I'm finishing up school at NYU Gallatin, where I'm concentrating in the politics of art and performance. I was last in a performance of Henry IV, parts 1 and 2, at NYU Gallatin for their fall main stage at University. And yeah, I've just been in New Jersey doing quarantine, doing Zoom classes, and a lot of school stuff. So yeah, that's mostly where I'm at now too.
Great. And our wonderful swing, Lorian.
Hi, I'm Lorian. I'm the swing, and I'm so happy that you didn't get a chance to see me tonight because everything went so smoothly. So I'm a writer, director, actor, and I grew up as a child actor. So the thing that you probably know me most from is Revolutionary Road by Sam Mendes, where I was the young Kate Winslet, and I went to Strasberg and Stella Adler from there. I'm one of those rare breeds that didn't stop when they grew up. And yeah, I just wrapped post-production for a horror film that I directed that's looking for distribution, and I just wrote another Zoom production that we're doing with No Exit Theater. That's a psychological thriller meets comedy about quarantine and this whole experience that we're enduring.
That's actually breaking news, Lorian. You're the first to announce it. We are going to be producing our first original works over the next few months. We're very excited about that. So very happy. So super great cast of actors, and we have a bunch of questions now, which is awesome. So we will turn it over to the audience with quite a few questions. Talk about the choice for translation and cutting. That is actually a question for our wonderful technical director, Zeynep, who chose this specific translation. So, Zeynep.
I will pop in and answer. So the cutting and the shortening is super inspired by the work Christopher Scott does with the Great Work series at Berg College. I worked with him on a couple of things, and this was like something we did that was really fun. The translation was the one that is on Project Gutenberg, which is a project where they collect public domain works. So this is what they had in the public domain, and we used it, and it's fun.
we did a production last week or 2 weeks ago of a 2-hour-long Much Ado About Nothing, and while it was a lot of fun, we kind of had to be introspective about what sitting for 2 hours can do for a lot of actors and audience members. So we wanted to do kind of tighter, quicker productions of classic works and looking for plays that had been cut down or plays that we could cut down. And Zeynep actually came to me with this cut of the show, and I thought it was great. And I'm very happy with how it paced out. It's tough. It's tough with shorter scripts to be able to communicate the story, but we're very happy that I think this captured as much as you can with Hedda Gabler in about 70 minutes. So. Moving on to the next question. Cheryle, do you want to take this one?
No, I did not consider ad-libbing to bring it into the play. That just happened. But no, Anja carried on beautifully. After I was trying to mute myself to bring in Lorian because I didn't know how long he was going to keep barking for. So I wanted to take myself out, but no, it happened how it happened. So
Dog always ends up stealing the show, and the first question is always you live.
But because this play is in the public domain, Cheryle could have ad-libbed if it had struck her so. I believe, because we're not here with the playwright, and the play has intellectual copyright in all of our hands and all of yours.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And the challenges of live theater do not leave us when we go virtual. They just slightly change. So in this case, it was the dog barking, but who knows? In 2 weeks, it might be something different and interesting as well. Great. Moving on to the next question. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty short answer. We're doing theater with what we have here, what we have available to us. And for costuming, I just wanted to somewhat formalize, so give us a chance to not be in our pajamas for once in quarantine, and also do costuming choices that suggest the characters. Nothing too elaborate, but something that kind of puts the actors and also hopefully the audience slightly into a more formal world of the play. Actually, all of the costume choices that you see, the clothing was picked by the actors, and I thought they all made wonderful choices. And there was actually costume changes, which was kind of sprung at the last minute, but I thought was very exciting. So, I mean, if anybody else wants to comment on their costume choices, please go ahead.
No, I think it just makes it more fun.
Yeah.
I also think that there's a lot of potential in this format that we're discovering as a theater company that's really exciting. And when you have a play like this, obviously it happens over the course of 2 days. You would see 2 different costumes, and perhaps it helps show passage of time. That was something I decided to experiment with as an actor today. But I don't know. I think costumes are such a huge part of theater for me as an actor and a viewer. It's fun to bring them in. They influence how you play the character, and they influence how the audience receives them.
Yeah.
I fiddled with my hair for like 45 minutes and ended up doing nothing with it. So definitely, I was like, wow, amazing.
Great. We'll move on to the next question. So I could talk about the process a little bit. So has anyone else in here done another virtual reading whilst in quarantine?
I've done some virtual readings. Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. We didn't perform them live. But
yeah, nothing live.
Yeah, same.
So we are an organized group. So there is a lot of chatting that goes on behind the scenes. Between shows. We had our first show 2 weeks ago with Much Ado About Nothing, and then the day after we had that show, Zeynep and I started immediately on the play selection process for what our next story would be, which gets put through a group of actors who all submit plays that they want to do, and then we randomly select of those plays what play to do, and then actors submit to be a part of those plays, and then we cast with a given group of actors, and we started reading we started rehearsing this a week ago, where I think like 4 or 5 out of the last 7 nights we met to go over the play and do scene work and work on technical stuff. And, you know, about 2 hours for each rehearsal. And this was the final product. I mean, what you're seeing is about 5 or 6 days of work from the actors, and then a few more days added on for just planning.
And as far as like all the transitions and the smoothness of production, that's all Zeynep, our technical director.
Yeah.
And she takes us out and puts us in, and it's really great. It makes us all smooth.
Zeynep is really the engine of all of this from a technical perspective. I think like the magic, and I think it's really important for us actors to find out, or theater artists in general, to find out how we can stretch this medium as much as we can. And Zeynep has been integral to figuring that out. As well as a lot of the actors making choices as well. I mean, it's really been exciting in this process because everyone is bringing something new to the table from a technical aspect. And I think like just from the last reading to this reading, we've added a ton of stuff because of the creativity of the actors, as well as everything that Zeynep is bringing to the table. We can move on to the next question. There are no set plans to do the readings again. We were I mean, this is all a very young project to this collective of actors, having this one reading, every other Friday night. But if there is popular demand, I don't see why we couldn't bring all these great folks back together and do this again. I certainly would want to watch it again. So.
And I definitely think that we're feeling it out as we go along of how to market this and who to market it to and all of that sort of thing. So every week it's cool to see who shows up.
Yes, and it's also worth noting that all of the performances stay online, so they can be shared post fact. You can put them out and watch them whenever you want, actually. Are there any more questions? Yes, that is yes. No exit -TC. That is the Venmo. Correct. Thank you very much. Actually, we got a couple more donations in the last few minutes from Volkan. Thank you so much, and Arjun. Thank you so much for your kindness. Really, really appreciate all of the help that we can get. It's going to actors, and it is very, very helpful, and it means a lot. So thank you all so much. Let's see if we have any more questions. I guess while we're waiting for questions, I can probably talk a little bit about myself. I know people have probably talked too much already, but my name is Ben. I am the director of this play and the co-artistic director of this wonderful theater collective. I graduated from NYU about 2 years ago on the dot, I think. I studied at Gallatin with Cheryle, actually. That's how we know each other. I studied theater and politics. And I am mostly a classical theater actor. I was just working at Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey on a production of Midsummer Night's Dream and Julius Caesar with Ellie and Keith. Before that, I was working with Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival on a tour of doing the Scottish play, which I will not say because we are in a virtual theater. I do not want to test fate.
It's been a hard enough year.
Yeah. And that's kind of who I am, and in all amongst all this strangeness and madness, I'm working with all these wonderful actors, and we're all trying to create art together, which is a blessing. I think while we're waiting for more questions, Zeynep, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, here she comes.
Sure. Tis me. I am currently studying applied theater here in New York. I'm originally from Istanbul, Turkey. I mainly direct and produce, but stage managing and technical stuff has always been really fun for me. And when Ben was starting No Exit Theater Collective, he was like, I would love for you to be a part of this. And I was like, yeah, I've been doing a lot of weird Zoom theater. I can be helpful. And he was like, if you know how the tech works. And I was like, sorta, kinda. And here we are.
I have to admit that Zeynep and I met when we worked on a play together. Zeynep was the director, and I was acting in it. And every rehearsal, I get very bashful because it's like very like Zeynep is like one of the best directors I've ever worked with. So I'm directing while Zeynep's in the background doing technical directing, and I was like, I hope I'm doing it right.
No, the other day you said something I say at every rehearsal I have, and I was like, oh, my heart.
So it's important to note that I have no formal directing experience. I did a little directing when I was in college. So all of my directing skill comes from all of the wonderful directors I've ever had, which I've been blessed to have a lot, but Zeynep is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I'm blushing. It was an incredible experience to work on that play, which was my first professional gig ever directing or like doing anything anywhere.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
We got a play into a festival, and it was a great time.
It absolutely was. I think we have one more question. Let me see.
I got you.
All right. Ellie, do you want to talk about this or?
Yeah. So we obviously perhaps not obviously, but we changed the pronouns for Judge Brack and Eilert Lovborg, which are both roles that present masculine within the play, as it is written. But we, as is often the case in a theatrical room, have more women than men, and in this case had female actors in these roles. And when that happens, I think you're always presented with a really interesting choice of, are you just going to say anybody can play a role? Because we do that a lot with Shakespeare. We do that a lot with a lot of open source work. Or you can go the other direction, which is what we did, which is to say, no, let's acknowledge that these are women and then talk about how that changes the world of the play. And we thought it changed it in really interesting ways here. We thought that it created different tension between Hedda and the two characters that we changed the pronouns on. But I think that we also thought that it was interesting in the way that it changed the dynamics of this world, right? That all of Hedda's issues were not necessarily just because she was a woman, but really highlighted that she was a product of the choices that she had made. If there are women in this world who are living independent, unmarried lives, like Eilert and Brack, then Hedda is trapped into this marriage sort of by her own choosing in one way or another. And I think that choice is a huge theme in this play anyway, and that was exciting to play with. It also modernizes the play in one way or another, for better or for worse. And that's exciting because we're playing with a new modern medium, so we might as well play with new modern choices.
I felt like changing the pronouns and acknowledging it, just kind of adding on. I thought it was a really, really interesting, for me as an actor at least, having that kind of a different insight, a different motive. It made, because Hedda is she builds her own reality world essentially, and when that world is like cracked, she loses her damn mind. And it's something that a lot of queer people go through, is having to be in the closet and not wanting to come out and living like these two separate lives, building a whole life that is completely not true, and that it's what they've expected it to be nice, with the nice things and the piano and this and the husband. And so when that's broken, I think it's a whole nother layer of a part of her shattering.
Mm-hmm.
And more on the casting side of things, especially when we're working with public domain work and classic work, we have an opportunity to cast plays in ways that transgress the norms in which they were written. As it relates to gender and sexuality, race and ethnicity. One, we want to be able to cast shows in a way that represents the diversity of our artistic community. And two, in trying to do that, we also have an opportunity to find new meaning in these classic works, which is very exciting. So we went into this production kind of with a question mark about what we would do with the pronoun and the gender representation of these characters, and it wasn't absolutely a conversation with the actors But when we eventually kind of discovered the new story that kind of came out of Brack and Eilert being played as women, it was too exciting to throw away. So we persisted with it, and I think we're all very happy with how it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's really a choice I would be excited to explore in other ways too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I think that is. Oh, thank you. I think that is all for questions. Before we sign out, I want to just make sure that we're extending another thank you to Johnson-Erday and Michelle Gossage for your wonderful contributions. Thank you all so much. We so grateful to have such a great audience for such a wonderful play. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you're following us on Facebook and No Exit Theater Collective, Twitter @NoExitTC, and Instagram @NoExitTC for updates about upcoming shows. And we have a lot of cool projects that we're working on to expand the artistic abilities in this world of Zoom and e-theater. So thank you all so much for joining us, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.